The fastest way to change your current financial situation isn't by saving more, isn't even by making more, and it certainly isn't even by focusing on trying to manifest winning the lottery. The absolute fastest way is to go back to the root of the money wound and start healing it from there. This is where I have seen thousands and thousands of people that I've coached throughout the years have their fastest transformation, where the abundance starts flowing in the most unexpected ways. Because when you have exposed that wound that has not even been located within you, located within your subconscious, and therefore it hasn't been tended to, it can start to heal, and it stops being the center and the compass for all of your thinking when it comes to success, when it comes to riches, when it comes to abundance. And now we've created a new center for you that is not grounded in an old, outdated, and typically wildly inaccurate wound. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to Project Me with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. Now, if you are watching on ProjectME TV on YouTube, which I highly suggest, you will see I'm doing some multitasking while podcasting. I'm really into the under eye patches. First of all, these are gold. Second of all, it just feels like something's happening on my face, like I'm doing something to beautify while I can be doing other things. And I need to go on a small rant here about multitasking. There has been so many experts that have said multitasking is bad. It doesn't give you more productivity and get you more done. It actually ends up taking longer and blah, 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 blah. I got to tell you something. If you have a wild brain like mine, which my guess is you do, or you wouldn't find the show even remotely interesting, you have ADHD, you're neurodivergent, you are spectrum-y. We have to multitask. It keeps us engaged. And if you do it strategically, it ends up helping you stay focused for longer and remove some of that like shiny object syndrome. So I support you listeners who multitask while listening, and I love seeing what it is you're doing. Now, if you're pooping, I don't need to see a photo of that. Okay. But I did a study, I think it was like a year and a half ago, and it was that 70% of you are listening while you're in the shower, which I find fascinating. So I'd love to know, what are you doing typically when you're listening to the show? Take a video of yourself, post it on Instagram, post it on TikTok, tag me at Project Me with Tiffany. I love to see this. A lot of you are doing your abundance walks while listening, which I very much approve of. I'm just fascinated always to see what's going on. So you need to know this. It is the final days of enrollment for Selling with Soul. So this is my signature program. It is a live group coaching program, and it is specifically designed to show you exactly how to create and package and present your offers and price them in a way that your ideal client can't resist it, where they have that feeling of, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Like, I need this. This is perfect. This is a home run for me. Because the problem isn't that people aren't buying from you because you don't have enough followers, you don't have enough credentials, you don't have enough testimonials, you're not this enough, you're too much this. I know that's what your brain tries to tell you. That's not what it is. I work with multi-billion-dollar brands and solopreneurs just starting, and I've been doing this for 16 years. The issue is in your messaging. This is the highest income generating skill that you can learn, according to Forbes, for the last 2 years. You learn how to market and present whatever it is you're selling, even if it's you working for someone else, whether it's a service, a product, you have a live event that you do, a retreat, does not matter. Selling with soul is perfect for you. We have realtors in there. This is the most incredible class of selling with soul that I've had. People in there are more excited than ever. They're more determined than ever to change their money story. They are so collaborative and supportive of one another. And we haven't even officially started yet, but you get instant access to your bonuses and the first two modules. And then we start the last Wednesday of March, and you get lifetime access to this and unlimited access. And any updates, which there's always updates and things that we add in to Selling with Soul, you get access to all of those for free. You don't have to pay for those. So there's incredible payment plans to make this a no-brainer. Not that I'm an accountant, but this is a tax write-off because you are learning an income generating skill that is going to pay off for decades to come, and you can apply it to anything. So you need to go to projectmewithtiffany.com/selling with soul, projectmewithtiffany.com/selling with soul. You can swipe up. The direct link is in the show notes. It's in the description on YouTube. Don't wait, because we came into this open cart already being 90% sold out, and I will not be able to add any more spots. And all of the details are on the page. Any questions that you have where you're like, Tiffany, I just want to make absolutely sure, because I've done other programs that I didn't think were a good fit, or I wasted some money on ads over here and I wasted money over here, and I don't have any more time to waste, and I want to be absolutely sure. The best way to ask us questions is you can email us, support@projectmewithtiffany.com. Or if you truly want me to answer you, you just have to be patient with me because I get a lot of DMs. You can DM me on Instagram at Project Me with Tiffany. Don't do it on Facebook. I don't check that. And don't leave me a voice DM either. I can't be listening to that because when I'm in doing other things, I can't necessarily play those. But we want to make sure that you do not miss this chance to learn something that is going to fill the hole as to why people are not buying on repeat from you. This is it. I'm going to show you exactly how to reach multiple 6 and 7 figures by teaching you how to share and promote your services and products with the world in a way that feels good to you and your customers. You're never going to feel like you're selling again when you learn my emotional based sales techniques. That's the whole point. That's where they came from. When I was in a sales position in corporate and I hated it. I felt like I was being fake. I felt like I was annoying people. I felt like I was doing a shim sham sharam, and I was sweating my ass off. And that whole line, never let them see you sweat. Well, I was sweating. I had to put deodorant on my face. And I had to figure out a way to sell that felt genuine and good to me, or I was going to lose that job and lose my apartment and lose my career. And this is when my emotional based sales techniques are born. I didn't have a name to it then, but this is when they started. So this is as a result of 2 decades of me testing, refining, implementing, massaging. And now you're getting them boiled down in a 5-week program plus a bonus live Q&A with me to where you are going to absolutely learn the exact things you need to do to generate fresh cash on repeat in your business. Part one of Rewired for Wealth, this series, is focusing on the mother money wound. And it's important to note that the discussions around these wounds obviously involve psychological and emotional aspects, and not everyone is going to experience these in the same way. And also know when you're listening to this series this week that you may have both of these wounds. You have fraternal wounds, you have maternal wounds, and just notice which are more dominant than the other. So it's not one or the other. Okay. You can absolutely have a combination of parental dynamics and wounds that are affecting you today. And we're going to first start out by going over some of the top symptoms that I have noticed in my 16 years of coaching, managing, mentoring people, and healing and transforming their money wounds into a money story that brings in the most beautiful abundance into your life, because that's what you deserve. But it's not going to happen when you have an undiagnosed wound that's been festering for years, that's been left unattended. You can sit there and work more. You can sit there and save more. And it's not going to matter. You can even sit and manifest all day long. I'm not saying it can't help you, right? Like I worked my ass off. That was my old thing. I was a workaholic. I worked my ass off. I'm talking 12 to 14 hours a day, whether it was in corporate or with my first business. First of all, it's not sustainable. Second of all, last time I checked, that's not abundance. That's out of scarcity. Overworking, overgiving, overdoing, constantly doing and not being, that is all rooted in I have to do this. I have to trade this in order to get this. I have to sacrifice this in order to get that. I have to do in order to get. All coming from wounds. How about that we get to be self-honoring? How about we get to prioritize our mental health, our physical health, our joy, while taking actions and actively manifesting, and it not being so hard, but you're working against yourself because you have these undiagnosed wounds that are rooted all the way back from childhood. So these are going to help you identify them first. And that's the first step in order to be able to shift and change your money story. You can't change what you don't know. So this is going to bring up some stuff. I'm breaking this down into a series because if I gave you everything all at once, your mind would kind of short circuit. You might even shut down, not necessarily in a trauma response, but it's just too much at once. So this is paced for a reason, and I want you to trust that. If for some reason you have to pause this episode and come back, that's okay. I just don't want you pausing it for too long, and going into avoidance. Okay, the mother money wounds. First one, overcompensation. So constantly seeking external validation through material possessions, success, accolades, in order to fill an emotional void that has been created by a maternal neglect or even financial instability in your home. So if you're constantly going in your business, oh my God, no one's watching my videos, no one's buying, no one's even signing up for my free stuff. Why are more people not downloading my podcast? And you're seeking that, you're wanting it. And then the more it doesn't happen, the more your nervous system gets dysregulated, the more you believe it's not going to be possible, the more you shift into self-doubt. This is a big red flag to me that you have a mother money wound. You didn't get the validation verbally, even physically, even energetically from your mother that you needed growing up. And that's why there's a void and you're seeking to fill it externally. That's normal in childhood to want external validation from your mother. right? And you don't get that. You don't know how to give it to yourself. You're a fucking kid. How would you know how to give that to yourself? And so you've likely never learned. So then what happens is you fill it with things like being in one relationship after another, looking for men or women for validation, your looks for validation, winning awards at work, sports, accolades, grades, anything for validation. It's incredibly dangerous. And I know because I predominantly have worked on and still work through the mother money wounds. And you know my story. It's not really surprising for you. Second one, perfectionism. Striving for perfectionism in your business to basically prove one's worth. It's like either what happens with people is you stall because of perfectionism, or you become overactive, like a productivity addict in striving for perfectionism. So you've probably even noticed this in other people. Sometimes we can notice things in other people before we can notice it in ourselves. And that's a really good hint here, because some of you have complex trauma like me, and you might not be able to necessarily have good memory recall or fully pick up on stuff immediately. But what you strongly notice in someone else, you have some of it within yourself. There's a phrase called, if you spot it, you got it. And it doesn't mean literally like that person's a narcissist. Now that means I'm a narcissist. And doesn't mean that. But I just want you to take a notice. Maybe you have a family member, maybe you have a sibling where you notice that in them. You know, that's a clue that this mother wound lives in you somewhere, because if it happened with a sibling, it's likely you have it as well, but it's just presenting differently in you because you're a different person. And that's what I said at the beginning here. It presents differently in different people. So you could be stalling in perfectionism of, oh, I can't launch my business. I can't start my business or can't launch this new product or course or whatever until this is done, until that is done, until the logo's right, until the website's right, or you're someone who re-records your videos or rewrites your captions, and the shit takes you forever because you're constantly re-recording because you have a wound in there that if it is not perfect, if it's not pristine, you are not going to be loved. You are not going to be accepted. You're not going to be respected. It reads as unsafe. So you're stuck on this loop that it has to be this way, or I'm not going to get the abundance. I'm not going to get the carrot. I'm not going to get the thing. Because in childhood, you had crazy expectations put on you by a mother. Only times maybe she gave you praise or accolades or bragged about you was when you did something extreme, like won the soccer championships, got straight A's for several years in a row. She only complimented your looks when you were like looked pristine. And then that tells your entire system, I have to be operating and achieving and producing at this crazy high level in order to get the cookie, in order to get the abundance. And no wonder why that stalls you, or no wonder why you constantly strive for it. So a lot of my type A'ers who listen, where you're just constantly striving for it. It's always more. It's always more. I've got to do more. I got to be thinner. I got to be fitter. I've got to have this. Or when someone compliments you on your business or an achievement that you've done, I have a client that I think of when I'm talking about this, who's been on the cover of magazines. I mean, just has really achieved so much just personally, but also like professionally in the health and fitness space that she's in. And when I reflect that to her and celebrate her for that and go, dude, that's fucking impressive. Like, you need to own that shit. There's a yeah, but Yeah, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, but most of those came from this period of my life. Yeah, but that was kind of luck that came out of the blue. So, like, even downplaying these achievements that you've worked so hard for, or maybe you noticed like you did that even as a kid, that's where this is coming from because it's never fucking enough because it was never enough for mom. That deserves a sip of coffee right now. This is bringing up my shit as I'm talking about it. Even though I talk about this all the time, I've never done a podcast series about it, but like with my private clients and inside selling with soul, we infuse stuff like this as well because I can teach you this strategy. I mean, what I'm teaching and selling with soul is simple and straightforward. The part that gets messy is your mind. And so I always make sure in that program that you have support for the mind and we're managing your mind while we're managing bringing in the big money. Otherwise, you'll even innocently self-sabotage it. Some people will consciously sabotage things. And that's a pattern that we're going to get into in this series as well. Because I know some of you listening right now are nodding your head and you're like, I actually know when I'm sabotaging. Like I can even feel it in my body, yet I still can't always stop myself, or yet I still do it. And then there's even more shame because you can't even say, I'm not even aware of it. You're aware of it and you still do it. Okay, next one. Fear of dependency. There is a strong reluctance to ask for help, to accept help, or to rely on someone when it has to do with money or support or help in things that would make you money or save you money. So basically, you are over the top, fearlessly independent. You people can smell it, people can see it on you. You've probably been revered and even celebrated for it. You may even talk about it yourself. But that level of not wanting to receive or rely on someone for help, or even pay someone like me to show you the way in order for you to get there faster, you have all sorts of stories that come up. Oh, well, I could probably figure this out myself. Why should I spend the money on that? Or I have trusted other people in the past. I've trusted other coaches. I've trusted da da da. And I didn't get anything out of it, or they were a scam and it didn't pay off. Or I've already spent so much money getting help in this area of my business. And, I don't need any more help right now, or I shouldn't really have any more help right now. It's like you get maxed out on help. There is no max out on help. But I get this. I'm laughing not at you. I'm laughing because I like really have worked hard on this wound. It's very vulnerable to accept help from people, whether it's paid or free. Maybe you're okay paying for help. This was mine. I could pay for help all day long because there's an exchange. I am paying you in exchange for this help. And then there's a much more likelihood you'll follow through. Not always, though, as we all know, but there's much more likelihood. It felt safer to me. I just realized that my nails match my eye patches. That's hysterical. Anyway, I digress. Because you have a maternal wound where maybe you had a mom who said they were going to be there for you, who said they were going to do this, would say one thing and do another, maybe who overpromised and underdelivered, promised you could go to camp, promised you could go to this thing, but then ended up saying, we don't have the money now. And it brings this wound to a whole nother level because you get so disappointed and you're so dependent on this person in childhood, and it hurts so badly that in order to protect yourself, you do everything on your own, and you think you're protecting yourself. You think you're controlling and avoiding any potential pain because you're so self-reliant, but you actually cause yourself so much more pain because everything takes longer and everything is harder because you're doing it all on your own, and we aren't meant to do it all on our own. And I totally get this. And there's, a lot of celebration of people who are very resilient, um, very self-sufficient. And I'm not saying that there isn't a balance there, but when it is heavily in one way and you are resisting support and help, even when it's right in front of you, whether it's paid, whether it's free, what you're saying is, I don't trust anyone. I don't trust the universe to bring me people at the right time in the right place to help me have the abundance that I want to get to where I want to go faster and easier. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. I don't trust it. And you know what you end up attracting? Untrusting people. You end up attracting scams. You end up attracting sociopaths, narcissists. You end up falling for fantasy marketing. And again, I am not sitting here putting you down for this. If you've listened to the episode of how I made $1 million at $1 million in the bank by the time I was 30 and it all went away in 3 months, it was this wound. I was so self sufficient. But then what ended up happening is resisting all the genuine people and opportunities for me to get help. And then what happens is we believe people aren't to be trusted. We believe it's better to do things on our own. And so then what we're really saying is, we can't trust the universe. We can't trust what God puts before us and who it puts before us. So then we end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that will go, see, look, I trusted this person. I lost all this money. See, I did this ad campaign and I didn't make any money. See, I bought this course that said I could go viral in 10 days and I got my lowest views ever. See. Do you get what I'm saying here? We end up collecting evidence subconsciously to verify our beliefs, even if those beliefs are rooted in deeply inaccurate and fucked up wounds. Next one. I see this all the time. Oh, this one really gets me going. It gets me going because it makes me so sad because I was this girl. And I say girl, I was like this even like in my early 30s. And so when I see it in you guys, it gets me so wound up because I don't want that for you. And it's undervaluing your own worth. It's when you are riddled in self-doubt. Your inner critic, inner bully is so loud, and you feel just a genuine inadequacy in order to have the abundant life that you want, in order to have the vocation that you want, the platform that you want, making money in the way that you want, the lifestyle you want, just a genuine and general inadequacy. Like, it's the opposite of thinking it's possible for you. And maybe you have moments on good days where it's possible for you, but then your brain flips pretty quickly into telling you all the reasons why you're inherently flawed. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a long shot. I guess you could maybe do it. I guess you might have a shot, Tiff, at having a major podcast and helping all of these people, but it's a long shot. I mean, let's be honest, like you're kind of like fucked up. Like, and realistically, you don't have anyone that's going to like hook you up, that's going to like, really help you get there on a big level. And so the likelihood is really slim. So who do you think you are for thinking that you're going to create this multi-million-dollar brand and a podcast that's helps millions of people all over the world? Like, come on. So you can see how that internal dialogue kept me from starting this podcast and ProjectME, the business coaching academy, for 10 years. Why am I so emotional? I'm sure some of you are too. This shit's legit. I'm like angry. It's bullshit that we have these. And listen, I know a lot of you are parents, are mothers. I'm not saying every parent did this on purpose. This is generational money trauma and money noise and money wounding, right? Your mom learned it from her mom or her dad. Your dad or mom learned it from their mom or their dad. Like, this is all passed down. You could have had an amazing childhood and innocently, because this stuff was not talked about, and it's still not talked about enough. This is why I make a business around talking about it, that they unconsciously pass this bundle of wounding on, and they don't mean to. Okay, so this talking about this stuff does not mean you're saying my mom's horrible, my dad's horrible. Now, some of you did have really fucked up parents. Okay, like my mom's sick, but like I still will give her some grace, like that's why I'm crying. Like she's anorexic as well. And to be anorexic your entire life, even just that part of her mental illness, you have to be filled with so much self-hate, self-doubt, and inadequacy. And that's why I watched her. She had a business. That's why I didn't want to be an entrepreneur. She made it look like hell. This woman was working easily 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, nonstop. She believed she had to because she was so inadequate. And she created a story and a self-fulfilling prophecy and then made it about the fact she's a woman in a man's world. And then we can come up with these stories that actually have some merit to them to really, really go deep on it. And this wound is coming from you having a mom who also felt inadequate, and it showed up in many different ways. You may have picked it up energetically or just visually. Maybe you had a mom who was sick all the time, a mom who was always dependent on a man, a mom who was just like a fucking hot mess and all over the place, a mom who had mental illness. And you picked it up from there. You could have picked it up from a mom who said it. Like, I have a friend of mine, dear friend of mine, and his mom is always saying self-deprecating things about herself. And she's now like 80 years old and she still does it. Even if someone compliments her and says, "Oh, I love what you've done with your hair. It looks so bright and healthy." She'll put it down. She'll poo-poo it. "Oh, it's not been washed in a week." And never takes anything in, rejects any form of anything that would fill her up because it doesn't feel safe, because it wasn't modeled. So some of this stuff you just picked up from being around it, and it feels so familiar to you, and it's not been uprooted and looked at. And so you're just going through the motions and acting out in ways that you saw modeled to you. That's why I'm saying to you, this stuff can be transformed really quickly, truly, in 7 days or less. Because just by us uprooting this now and like shining a bright flashlight on it, your awareness of it takes the edge off it of you thinking something's wrong with you. It's all your fault. You're a piece of shit. You're lazy. You're not good with money. All the stuff you tell yourself. I want you to start looking at this stuff and go, okay, I can see where this comes from. This makes sense. This isn't mine. This isn't mine to hold anymore. I've been carrying this my entire life unknowingly. I'm going to give myself grace and self-compassion. This does not need to be my story. I see why I've acted out this stuff. And I want you to look at, what can the new story be? There's other symptoms of this, but I wanted to give you the main ones that are so tied to that maternal wound, that maternal love. When you have someone that's not able to be present and give you what you need as a child, as even a young adult, even in my case, right, well into adulthood, if ever, it impacts the money wounds because you reject receiving. You reject receiving abundance. You reject receiving help, support, good opportunities. You don't trust it. Therefore, you have your hand up. You have an energetic wall up because it doesn't feel safe to trust that stuff because it wasn't safe in childhood. And this is how you protected yourself. This was a survival skill that is now trapping you monetarily now. And now you get to do things different. Now you're an adult, even though you might feel like you're 12 sometimes, like me. But we get a look at this stuff, and I want you to go, okay, which of these maternal wounds, maybe you have none of them. Okay. And you'll see in part 2, maybe, they're all on the fraternal wounding side. Maybe you're like, no, I have all these. This is strong, or I see these two in me. And I want you to look at the truth. Take a look at your mother. This doesn't mean she's a bad person. Take a look at where this likely came from. Maybe your grandparents, so you kind of have an idea of where this could have come from and how this money wounding bundle got passed. And make a choice. I get to change this generational money story. It gets to change with me, and it really does. And look at what the truth is. If we use an example here of the perfectionism one, because I know that's big for a lot of you. And it shows up in so many different ways. You getting stuck, you getting overwhelmed, overthinking, overanalyzing, telling me, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write in my content. I don't know what to do this. If you knew you couldn't get it wrong, I guarantee you wouldn't have that kind of a block. And I want you to look at what is the truth here. The truth is we know there's no such thing as perfection. And perfectionism is not hot. That takes away the intimacy, the human quality of your brand, of your business, of what you offer. The reason why you listen to this show, and hopefully it's one of your favorite shows, and you join my programs and you resonate with me, is because I'm not perfect and because I'm messy, and you're beautifully messy. And that's what we end up loving about people. Are there idiosyncrasies? Are there funny things about them, the weird things about them? Never once have you said, oh, this person is perfect, that's why I love them. Nobody. But you have to remind yourself of this and take time to unpack that and ask yourself the question, whichever one of these really rang strongly for you in your nervous system, in your body. Maybe it's being fiercely independent. So you have a fear of dependency. That's a big one of mine. Now, there is an integration of these where that has also served me on some level, right? Where I wasn't going to depend on any man for money, and and I had no one to go to for money. So there was a drive there. But at a certain point, it also blocks out true abundance, because abundance isn't just about having the money. Abundance is about having an incredible quality of life and freedom and joy with the money to do the things that you enjoy. It's not about trading one for the other. And I was blocking out the things that would have made this, from most of my life, happen so much easier and more joyful and less stressful and more freeing. I didn't know any better, but I was blocking that out. That didn't mean I didn't achieve some great things by operating this way, but it came at a big fucking cost. I almost died. Once I almost offed myself. Well, technically, there's 2 times, but we don't need to go into that. And the second is my health. I got so sick from operating so fiercely independent, and the perfectionism and the nastiness in my brain, all these things, all of them, the overcompensating, all of it. You are born a divinely abundant, beautiful person. We're meant to be abundant here on this earth. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be painful things and stuff that happens along the way. But we're meant to have this beautiful abundance, and it's right here for you, but not if you're not willing to uncover and explore and heal these wounds. It'd be like, would you really expect a giant sore on your arm to heal if you aren't willing to tend to it? Of course not. So you have energetic wounds, and they're very fucking real. And those have to be tended to just like you would attend to a physical wound. In fact, I want you to look at it like that, because when you have that imagery, I think that's going to help you prioritize it. And then part 2, on Wednesday, we're going into the fraternal wounding. Remember, selling with soul. This is it. It will not be available until 2025. And I want you to hear this when I say it. If you're in a spot where you're like, what is it that I really need to do? Because I don't have it in me to do all the things. It feels so overwhelming. I must be doing something wrong because I'm not getting the consistency and as many people signing up for my things. I know I must be missing something. You know that you have something great to help people if they just knew you existed. You have a lot of people telling you they can't afford it or they don't have the time right now. You're spending hours on creating content and getting 0 people buying from you. You get super nervous on any form of like doing a discovery call because you don't know what to say. You freeze when people give you their excuses. This is the program for you. Period. End of story. You'll see it when you go to the information page. All the details are in there. Tons and tons of testimonials. Like I said, you get lifetime access. You get incredible bonuses. And go take a look at it. At least give yourself that. Maybe this is the help that is being presented to you right now at this very time, because this is the thing that you need. And this is the thing you need to make a choice to lean into and trust it, instead of going based off past circumstances and no one's helping me and everyone else gets a break and I don't have a break. Well, maybe this is your fucking break. How about you take a look at that? Maybe this is your thing. I only offer it once a year. So you're hearing it right now for a reason. And for a strong percentage of you, this is actual divine timing for you. Go to projectmewithtiffany.com/selling with soul. Swipe up, links in the show notes in the description on YouTube. Also on the link in bio on my TikTok and Instagram, it's 90% sold out. So when you go to the page and if you go to click to join and it says full, then we can put you on the wait list for 2025. We will not be able to add any more people in the program, but at least you'll be able to be on the wait list. And I would be so honored and excited to guide you to having that freedom and that abundance that you want so that you can make a shit ton of money using your gifts, talents, and passions and helping other people, and no longer feeling like you have to trade and grind and sacrifice in order to have the life you want. I mean, that's one thing that we can't get a refund on, is our time. And you've wasted a lot of it, as have I. And my hopes in sharing this with you is that you'll take my hand and let me show you the direct path, instead of you continuing to zigzag all over the place and waste years and years and years. I'd be honored to. Love you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.